Welcome to the Bitcoin Zodiac, the podcast that explores the intersection of finance and astrology, where we use a combination of spirituality and logic to help us connect the dots in the markets. Hosted by Corinne Florence and Marrinan, who both come from a diverse background, bringing with them a wealth of knowledge and experience in the realms of astrology, cryptocurrency, trading, philosophy, investment strategy, and of course, Bitcoin. In each episode, we explore the economics of the markets following the evolution of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency through each moon cycle and astrological transit. Join us on this journey as we explore the intersection of these two worlds that are often thought to be at odds with one another, finance and astrology. Whether you're a seasoned crypto investor, a day trader, or just starting to dip your toes into the world of Bitcoin and blockchain, Bitcoin Zodiac is the podcast for you. So sit back, relax, and come and expand your consciousness with us as we explore the world of the financial markets through an astrological lens. Good evening.
Good morning, good evening. How we doing?
Doing good. Doing well. Happy Aries season.
Aries, we are here. The fire. The sun is out, even though I have blackout curtains right now, but the sun is out and you can feel the fire. It's here.
So happy it's Aries season. Like, I can't even tell you the shift. And happy spring equinox as well. We're recording this on the 20th. So happy spring equinox, everybody. Happy Nowruz if you are celebrate that, all my Persian princesses. Yeah.
Lots of celebration during this time.
Yeah. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I'm excited because Claire and I have just been sitting here looking at some of the astrology and we're like, buckle up, people. Like, this is going to be a bumpy ride for this year to come, for this astrological year to come. It's exciting times though. We have a lot. We have a lot to go over this episode. We don't know how much we're going to be able to fit in because it's just wild.
Yeah, buckle in for 3 hours, guys. No, I'm just kidding. We won't do that to you.
Right.
But yeah, there is a lot. When I was sort of narrowing down what I was going to bring to the table today, I was just like, oh, but wait, there's this. Oh, but wait, there's, more. And I was just like, because usually I look at all of the aspects for Bitcoin and then I select the ones that I think are going to be kind of major. And this one, I was like, oh, that one's looking great. And then, like, even on the same day, sometimes I'm like, oh, that one is not looking so great. But like, it's interesting. I think it's going to be a very volatile eclipse season and leading into the Bitcoin halving. There's lots of shenanigans going on in the market. So just buckle up, stack some sats, and be prepared for some volatility, I think. But how did you find the Pisces new moon?
Where do we start? It was interesting. Let's just say it definitely felt the depths of the ocean inside of myself. It went very, very inwards, very deep inwards. And it made me, one thing that I do like about the highest expression of Pisces is its ability to dissolve all boundaries and to go beyond. And I felt like it actually helped me to do that. And I'm going to say it kind of forced me to do that in some aspects of my life where I just had to break down boundaries that within myself, I'm talking about, that I didn't want to go beyond, and I kind of had to, which was really great. So it wasn't great in the moment. Like, there was just one day where I was just crying and I was like, what's going on? And then Alex was like, I'm just going to draw you a bath, have some lavender Epsom salts, just lay in there and be. So that was really nice. And I
We
just
all
journaled,
need an
and
Alex really to run us a path.
everybody get yourselves a Cancer man. Very, very, very prominent Cancer aspects or positionings, because they're very nurturing, which when we go through these crazy moons, we sometimes just need.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was me. How about yourself? How was it?
I mean, even in terms of the market, I was like, okay, so we eventually got our new moon retracement, and a couple of days later than I thought we would, to be honest. But on the day of the new moon, we got that, pumped and made and had another all-time high. And so I was like, okay, well, okay, Claire, you can be wrong. Like maybe we aren't going to, maybe we'll consolidate a little bit, but maybe we aren't going to get a retracement. And as I said last episode, I was just like, this like up only price action is just giving me so much anxiety. And it's not just because I'm like, oh, I want it to come back so I can buy more or whatever. It's nothing to do with anything like that. It's just that when we have this like these big up only moves, it creates these imbalances in the market, and generally they do come back and get filled because it creates this gap between the sort of intrinsic price or intrinsic value of the asset and the actual like market trading price. And so that needs to like come back together at some point. And so yeah, so it's interesting. We did get that pullback again. It kind of came down, and then I was like, is this going to be it, like 12% or something? And then yeah, it kept coming, and at this point I think we are looking, I think it's about 17-18%, which is still, not huge in a bull market. Like oftentimes people think, wow, bull market, it's going to be like really crazy to the upside, and yes it is, but the retracements are usually pretty vicious as well. And previous bull markets we were getting like 30-35% retracements, and this time we've only really been getting 20 max. So maybe that is the way of the future. And it's kind of just that massive volatility is maybe coming out of the market a little bit, although I do feel like eclipse season could change that view. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited about Aries season. When the sun is in Aries, like it's really time to embrace a season of bold assertiveness and cherish your freedom, and I'm really feeling that because yeah, the Pisces new moon for some, and I love new moon energy. Like that is, I usually struggle more with full moon energy, but this new moon, I was just like, meh. I just felt like felt so demotivated. I really just felt like I wanted to sit in bed and watch reality TV, and I didn't, but you know what I mean? When you're just like, I don't want to think. I don't want to like watch something that is interesting and I care about. I just want background noise. That's kind of like what I was feeling like. But yeah, it's funny on that like last Friday, I think it was. I kind of got up, and I have like a pretty set routine in the morning, whereas like I kind of get up, I have a look at what the charts are doing, and like I journal, and then I meditate, and then I have a look at what the charts are doing, and then I go and work out, and I come back for the Asia Open. And that day I was just like even journaling was just like felt like a struggle. And so I didn't meditate, I didn't work out, I didn't put in any trades. And then just as that, like, Claire, get your shit together and, do your thing, kind of started to kick in, the market started dropping. And I was just like, I agree. Like, that works for me. Okay. Like, and it was just that moment of like, you and I are both generators in human design. So it's like, I've really been like leaning into following what lights me up. But it's also like noticing when you're not lit up. like, and honoring that in a way. Like, it's not giving licensing to being lazy, but that's not really the side of the issues that I fall on. Like, it's more, so when I was just feeling like meh, it was like, okay, that was for a reason. Not saying that I'm super like tied to Bitcoin, that like when I'm feeling bad, it means Bitcoin's going to have a bad day. Maybe, but we're so connected. But yeah, like
Yeah.
honor that as well. I want to give licensing to honor that as well. So yeah, that's what was happening for me.
Really do feel like, and the first times that I really started connecting astrology to crypto, and in particular Bitcoin, I really felt like that Bitcoin is this representation of the human collective consciousness. I mean, now we do have more and more institutions coming in, and so we are starting to see more and more manipulation, unfortunately. But I do still feel like Bitcoin has this energy around it that really, really moves with how we're feeling. And I mean, Alex points it out to me all the time. He's like, you're literally like Bitcoin. Like your emotions are so connected to it's like as if like I feel something and then we get on a chart within like
Yeah,
24 hours
yeah,
and Bitcoin's doing the same thing,
that's
which
hilarious.
I love. And I'd love to like tap more into that and really see how we connect there. But also
How
just
do we
to
keep you
add to
happy all the time?
what's that?
How do we keep you happy all the time?
Oh.
So that Bitcoin is always happy
Oh
also.
yeah, I know, right? We'd love that. We'd love that. We'd love that.
Mhm.
But, we're learning healing journeys that we can't just be happy all the time. We've got to go through every single emotion, and every emotion is a call to action. So that's how we grow. Look at me growing. My
I
therapist
mean,
would
to
be
be
so
honest,
proud.
I was
Um,
happy to see a pullback. I was happy to see a pullback. It like allowed me to sleep a little better at night, honestly. But yeah,
right.
so I was happy to see that sort of healthier price action. Yeah, carry on.
Yeah, we definitely needed that. And I feel like, from our last analysis of that new moon, we did kind of say like there was some very, very bullish energy, which we saw from that prior full moon in Virgo. And I feel like that new moon, I always really like to look at like the 2 day time frame, sometimes even the 3 day time frame now, because I feel like that energy kind of like plays out and does take a little bit longer. Like that new moon really likes to pull it to the upside before then that whatever aspects we see on that new moon like kick in, and then that's when it started to drop. And yeah, we are seeing only really a 17% drop so far. Maybe we have a little bit more to go, especially as we get closer to this full moon, and it continues to pull price to the downside. But
Yeah, I mean
I
it's
think we should get
interesting because we have FOMC tomorrow as well, or I'm not, it's like by the time you guys listen to this, then it will have been and gone and you'll know what's happened. But at this point in time, we're recording this on the 20th of March. And so, usually at this time, I would expect to see a bit of a midweek reversal that's like tied in, like the FOMC is used an excuse to reverse it. Is basically what happens. But we could also see like a flash fake move to the upside and then to continue on down further into this full moon and lunar eclipse. So we shall
yeah.
see.
And I think that plays perfectly with the energies of pre-shadow retrograde, pre-shadow Mercury retrograde happening in Aries. There is a lot of Aries energy in general during this time, which started on the 18th of March, the pre-shadow retrograde. And Claire and I even talking about how some of our technology has already started playing up. I think this is a theme that we're going to continue to see. But Mercury, I love to look at as the planet of communication and a planet that really, really affects Bitcoin. We've spoken about it in past episodes, so make sure that you go back and watch those episodes and really understand like why we look at Mercury retrograde, post shadow, pre shadow. And I think one of the biggest things that I've noticed during the pre-shadow retrograde for Bitcoin, or pre-shadow Mercury retrograde and Bitcoin, is just extreme volatility. And to now add on top of that, which I think is one of the main things that we should really talk about today with you guys, is the eclipses, and eclipse season just being such a key time for financial astrology, and really for the world. I think even just for us, eclipses are really a time where things get exposed, all the things that have been hidden come to light. And I remember when I first started diving into this space as well, I remember hearing that that eclipses are full moons and new moons on steroids.
Yeah.
Imagine everything that we feel, everything that we experience in the markets, but also just tapping into ourselves and what we feel, what we go through these different moons. Now with the eclipses, it's like heightened. It's literally on steroids. It's like everything is bigger and we feel it more. And so the moves in the market are also bigger. And I think another important thing about eclipse season is that, unlike the new moon and the full moon, as an example, I was like, hey, look at like the 2-day, 3-day time frame, because those energies take a while to play in and they will linger for a couple of days. With eclipses, we actually feel the whole eclipse season starting from 6 weeks prior, so 42 days prior of that first eclipse. So we're already in it. And if we just look at the news, there's already craziness happening in the world, and a lot of things are being exposed and brought to light. And then it will last all the way through until 6 weeks after, so 42 days after that second eclipse. So we're very much in that season. And want to look at specifically with these eclipses and jump straight into what's called astrocartography. Is there anything that you want to add on eclipses before I show this?
Yeah, sure. I will just sort of say, in terms of like the full moon, that full moon phase in astrology always symbolizes culmination and release. So it's always seen as a time when things come to light, leading to clarity or a reaping of what was sown during the new moon. So this is a full moon south node lunar eclipse in Libra. So then the south node aspect represents past karma, lessons we've already learned, or aspects of life where we might feel comfortable, but are being encouraged to sort of move away for our own growth. And then we have the lunar eclipse occurs when the earth stands between the moon and the sun, casting a shadow on the moon. And this event amplifies, as Corinne said, the effects of the full moon. So really bringing significant changes, revelations, endings, and substantial shifts in perspective. And because Libra is the sign associated with balance, relationships, and fairness, it really emphasizes diplomacy, partnership, and justice. So, when the full moon south node lunar eclipse occurs in Libra, it sort of signals a time of significant shifts in the realm of balance and relationships, including those that we have with our finances and our investments. So, markets will probably experience some increased volatility. And the emphasis on Libra suggests like a need for balance within the markets. So you might sort of find yourself reevaluating your portfolio to, make sure that it aligns with like your long-term goals and also values. Like it's not just your financial goals, like I want to be richer, but it's also like your deep held values. And so so it could be a time where we see some imbalances in the market that are more pronounced and may lead to some quite volatile corrections and also volatile moves to the upside as well. And we'll talk about some of those other aspects which give us an indication of some timings on those. But yeah, the volatility sounds scary, but it's, to the upside and the downside. So it's just a bit of a wild ride in that perspective. And some
Yeah.
states, Corinne, seem to be taking it way more seriously. Like this eclipse season, there's some states in America that are really taking this eclipse seriously. Do you want to tell us about that?
Let's have a look at that. And then I definitely want to circle back to what you spoke about just there, because
Mhm.
that plus the Mercury retrograde, I think we need to have a
Yes.
bit of a mindset walk and really prepare ourselves
Yeah.
for the way that we show up in the markets. But so let me share my screen here and um okay, let me start off with this. Let me share that. So hopefully you can see this map over the United States. And this actually, so this is called astrocartography. Astrocartography actually looks at the map of the world and where are, in this instance, for example, like where is the astrology or where are the eclipses exactly playing out? So we can see that there was this 2020, the 2024 eclipse that we're experiencing on the 8th of April is going to be playing over these parts of America. So, and heading on over into Canada as well. And what is, I don't want to say alarming because that sounds intense, but what is bringing a lot of attention in particular to, various astrologers and more is that what it's creating is what's called a black cross across the United States from a 2017 eclipse. So to show you or to make you understand this a little bit more, these are eclipses that we see happen over time. So in 2021, we had an eclipse that affected these parts of the world. And this one, oh, so this one also has 2023. It should be really 2017 that it went and created this cross over the United States. And what that shows is that from 2017 to 2024, there was a heightened point of attention in the world in the United States. So then if we actually go and look at the next ones that are about to happen in the future, after the world has shifted and finished their attention here, some of the future ones may be this eclipse right here. So not sure if maybe Southern America gets hit in any way. And then after that, we have 2027 eclipse and 2030 eclipse starting to hit Northern Africa, maybe parts of the Middle East, Europe. We'll see what's to come. But that's a way that we can use astrocartography to see where is there going to be excessive focus and excessive events happening in the world.
So this eclipse is more focused in the US. It's more intense maybe in the US. What is this one down here with crossing Australia? When is that one?
I thought that might catch your
attention. Asking for a friend.
Asking for a friend. So it's actually starting from 2023 to 2028. So some attention has started to be drawn over here as well. And then in particular, so that's more, what is that? That's, sorry guys, my geography is not great. That's, what islands are up here? Is that like Philippines? Or
I think it's close enough.
Sorry, guys. Maybe you guys can drop it.
It's sort of like
so somewhere
there. North of WA.
Right. Yeah, it does hit it at the top here and up here. And then we have that's 2028 and 2030 hits. Oh, would you look at that? Sydney? Canberra?
Oh, Sydney, Canberra, our hometowns.
Let's see what happens. Yeah, I know. And that hits New Zealand too. So we've got time, but these are ways that we can start to just prepare and maybe look at, how does all of this play out in the United States? And then how can we prepare for what's to come in, maybe parts of the Middle East, and Australia as well. But for this eclipse, you know, we have a lot of people in general already starting to prepare for this eclipse. And Texas is a state that is creating a lot of news. So I do want to play this Instagram reel, which I thought was just, I'm seeing a lot of news everywhere, but this one just kind of summarized it. And I think we'll give you guys a little bit of a perspective of what's going on. So let me refresh it here. And hopefully you can hear.
The National Guard is going to be here now for the solar eclipse. This article today was released in an Oklahoma newspaper saying that they will have guardsmen present in McCurtain County for the solar eclipse. But things get much weirder. The 22 members of an elite chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear unit will be housed in Broken Bow, in addition to 110 to 150 Oklahoma Highway Patrol troopers. They're also urging residents to stock up with 1 to 2 weeks of food in advance of the event and to have full fuel tanks. They're also saying that it's likely that communication facilities could be overloaded, possibly making it difficult to make cell phone calls. Similar warnings are going out in different states, including Noblesville Fire Department in Texas. And apparently schools are canceled this day, and people are going on Twitter writing statements like this: something strange is definitely happening. My kids in 3 different schools all got notices that school will be closed that day. What do you know about this solar eclipse?
So that's really interesting. Oh, what was that?
Wow. I mean, I'm not seeing that level of like crises, I guess. Like, I mean, they're telling people to like have food for several weeks, keep your kids out of school. I'm interested to know what they expect to happen. And there are a couple of sort of aspects as well that I can see where they are getting the kind of like confusion with communication. Mercury's doing a couple of things. So I can see that, but I mean, that's a lot. I've never seen like mainstream media take astrology so seriously, and they don't send the National Guard for nothing, right? So wow. Wonder what's happening.
There's definitely something going on. But you know, I think that regardless of where it is that we are in the world, and maybe this is just me, and you know, I like to sense in what's just going on in general and be prepared. Like, we are living through some really transformative times.
Yeah.
And I like to be prepared for everything. So you never know. You really never know. But let's see what's going to happen. And then next episode, we'll actually dive in deeper because that's specifically for the 8th of April eclipse.
Yeah.
And we'll dive in deeper in some of the astrology and what that's looking like for Bitcoin. Because prior to that, we have the first eclipse, which is the 25th of March. And I might just add to, circle back to what you were talking about, Claire, also in like the emotional side for the eclipses, and to add on top of that, the Mercury retrograde also going through Aries. So during Mercury retrograde, individuals usually experience a variety of mental, emotional, and spiritual effects. And I do know that people get affected differently, maybe based on their charts. Like if you're a Gemini, I love you. I send you so much peace and healing during this time, because I do feel like Gemini, because Mercury rules Gemini, right? So they tend to get affected, and Virgos too. Mentally, there could be confusion, misunderstanding, and difficulties in communication and decision making, which is really important for us as traders and investors. Emotionally during this time, you may feel frustration, anxiety, and a sense of being stuck or in limbo. And I think that that's really a big part of what we then really do feel and is reflected in the market, because there is so much volatility. During Mercury retrograde, we actually don't feel like there is a a clear direction in where price is going. And so we do feel like this constant, like, so we're going up, but we're going down. I feel stuck. I feel in limbo. And we feel that a lot.
Yeah.
Spiritually, Mercury retrograde, powerful time for introspection, revisiting past issues, and personal growth. Imagine that linked up with the eclipse. It's an opportunity to reassess what truly matters and to realign with one's deeper values. So then specifically for Aries, because this is such an intense energy, it's fiery, it's impulsive, I think that this is a really great time to take a step back, really practice our flexibility, our patience, step into as much meditation and reflection as we can. I would also, because there is such this impulsive energy, make sure that you have a plan prior to going through this period, like a trading plan, an investment plan, and stick to that and be really careful, because this is a time that, again, Mercury, the planet of communication, but intellect can really affect our decision making. Like they say during Mercury retrograde, don't sign contracts, don't get into anything too new, because you're maybe making decisions that are not clear. And on top of that, with this happening in Aries, is very much this, once again, maybe a little bit too impulsive, and we want to be careful of that. So this sign is also known for initiative, courage, sometimes the impatience, a heightened sense of urgency around the decision making, or a rush to take action, and that can lead to hasty conclusions, especially in financial matters. So be careful around during this time of the aggressive and frustrative sometimes nature of Aries, and the potential conflicts in the communication. So when we want to speed up, it's time to slow down. Our thoughts especially.
No, absolutely. I totally agree with you on that. And I think it's often a time that things from your past will revisit you. So you'll notice that the things that are coming up in your life are sort of things that you're like, didn't I already deal with that? Or, you'll get a text from your ex or something like that. Like they always pop up in Mercury retrograde. It does not mean
always
destined to be together. This is not a sign from the heavens. It's really
not a sign
to gracefully release, leave on good terms. Thank you for coming. Thank you for what you added to my life. Peace out. Like it's a closing of the cycle, a closing of the circle. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty intense. But again, it's like it's one of those things that is like afterwards you go, okay, I can see how that helped me grow. Like the same with the eclipses. It's like when you're in it, it's like a little bit, it's a bit rough maybe, but afterwards you're like, oh, I see why that was necessary. It's like, so just before the eclipse, so we have the eclipse and the full moon lunar eclipse on the 25th. So just before that on Bitcoin's chart, we have the sun semi-square Bitcoin's natal Chiron. So the sun is, really represents vitality and strength and the core essence of every entity. So it highlights areas of focus, power, and significant activity. So in financial astrology, it represents leadership, significant events, and just the overall energy of financial markets. And these semi-square aspects are not as challenging as square aspects, but they're formed when two planets are 45 degrees apart. And they're considered a minor aspect, but they can indicate areas of friction, tension, or challenges that like prompt us into action. And then you have Chiron, which is like the wounded healer, which we have talked about quite a lot on this channel. And, that points to areas of healing, pain, vulnerabilities, and lessons that lead to profound personal growth and healing. So in the context of Bitcoin, it's natal Chiron, which of course refers to the placement of Chiron at the time of Bitcoin's creation. And this sort of symbolizes inherent vulnerabilities or challenges within the concept of Bitcoin itself. So when the sun forms this semi-square aspect with Bitcoin's natal Chiron, it kind of indicates that there's a period of potential tension or challenges related to Bitcoin's inherent vulnerabilities or the broader financial context that Bitcoin operates within. So this aspect can sort of bring to light areas like maybe it's within the crypto market that could require attention, healing, or adjustment. And it's an excellent time to rest if you're pushing ahead and it's sort of leading to frustration and exhaustion. So maybe in the markets, this shows up as just before we enter that full moon phase. Then, you know, we may see some consolidation or just a time where we just sort of take a bit of a pause. And, you know, just I really feel like all of the astrology actually of this eclipse season really has the vibes of spring cleaning before we head into the halving. And it's sort of like getting stuff, like it may be uncomfortable to look at, it may be difficult or challenging, but it's really like clearing the way because we're entering like a completely new cycle after the halving. So it's exciting, but that's what's coming up. Did you have anything on the 24th?
Yeah, we do. So on the 24th, is what's called Mercury's greatest elongation. And there's normally an Eastern and a Western. And just for people that like to nerd out like me on the like actual, let's call it astronomy side of things, this is what it looks like. So it's when Mercury, it happens with Venus as well, but here specifically we're talking about it happening on the 24th for Mercury. It's when it's at its longest, furthest away point from Earth and the sun. So there's an Eastern and elongation and a Western elongation. And what we're going through is actually the greatest Eastern elongation for Mercury, also known as the evening sky, on the 24th. So that's just a little bit of the astronomy side of things. But what that means for us is in financial astrology, we see these as a key reversal point or a point that actually pushes more in the direction that it's going in. So, you know, and I learned this from somebody that does stocks financial astrology, and they were talking about, you know, when you go down the rabbit hole, institutions have astrologers and they know when they sometimes maybe want to manipulate the markets, they will pick point moments where people are feeling a bit more vulnerable and maybe a bit more emotional. And so what they actually use the greatest elongation for is if they want to reverse the market, they will create a big reversal around that time. Doesn't have to be to the date, but it's around that time. Instead, if the markets are going in the direction that they want them to go, then they will push them up and literally create a bigger push in that direction. So this is happening on March 24th, and then we have the Western elongation on May 9th. When I actually zoom out and look at the overall astrology, which we'll get to, you know, talking about May astrology and June astrology in further episodes, but when we're already starting to look at it, what I'm seeing as a bigger picture is really that this Mercury's greatest elongation is going to continue pushing to the upside. And May, so the next time that we have Mercury's greatest elongation, may be that key reversal point. I mean, I could be completely wrong. We could be completely wrong, and it could just turn around and this may be the key reversal point that pushes everything back down. But when I look at the overall astrology, it's looking a bit more like a positive one to me that's continuing to push the market to the upside.
Yeah. And definitely like coming into this eclipse, I mean, on the 25th, we have the sun conjunct Bitcoin's natal moon. So we've discussed I believe we discussed what a conjunction is on previous episodes. And it's a pretty powerful aspect, like often merging the energies of and influences of those two celestial bodies, so the sun and the moon. And the moon really influences moods and public sentiment, and by extension, consumer behavior and market trends. So it really represents foundational emotional and public sentiments towards Bitcoin. So this transit of the sun conjunct Bitcoin's natal moon is a notable event that symbolizes a period of heightened energy, attention, and potentially a rekindling of foundational sentiments and values associated with Bitcoin. So this alignment could trigger renewed interest and positive sentiment towards Bitcoin, possibly increased media attention and favorable news. So this heightened awareness could really drive demand and potentially influencing Bitcoin's price positively. And during this period, decisions around Bitcoin may be more influenced by instinct and sentiment rather than purely rational analysis. So we just have to kind of keep a look on that. But also, so as I said, like it day by day, so we have this like semi-challenging aspect on the 24th, then we move into the 25th and we have these positive aspects. And again, we have, this is the overarching theme for this next 2 weeks leading into the next new moon, is that we have from the 25th of March to the 7th of April, we have Venus sextile Bitcoin's natal sun. And I see this as really beautiful and really positive because Venus in astrology obviously governs values and harmony and really what we appreciate in life, like including financial wealth. And it's associated with attraction, including the attraction of money or opportunity. So sextile, again, I think we've touched on this previous episodes, is considered harmonious and promoting ease and communication and collaboration between the energies of the planets involved. And Bitcoin's natal sun is really symbolizing its foundational identity and inherent qualities. So this transit suggests like a harmonious period where the values represented by Venus align well with the essence and core purpose of Bitcoin. So this alignment sort of brings, like impacts the market in, you know, increased attractiveness of Bitcoin and harmonious market sentiment. So Venus' connection to wealth and value could manifest its new financial opportunities related to Bitcoin. So I think that is like, that goes on until just the day before the next new moon. So we kind of, even though we see these periods of these other aspects that signal, you know, some volatility, I feel like we have this overreaching element of this Venus sextile Bitcoin's natal sun. So I sometimes love looking at like the astrology if Bitcoin was a person. And for this one, and just imagine that this is going on for the next 2 weeks. Basically, the planet of love is shining positive rays in your direction. So now you can attract love and pleasure if this is what you want. Money may also flow. Enjoy the moment without taking unnecessary risks. Right now, you can indulge yourself and your loved ones. So this feels very like loving and, you know, like it's, so that's kind of like just there in the background as a backdrop throughout these whole 2 weeks. So I do see, you know, where it says about like not taking unnecessary risks, I do see some like volatility to the upside, volatility to the downside. But I think we're sort of in this, you know, kind of bit of a love bubble for Bitcoin. So yeah.
I think so too. And I really feel that. And, you know, last episode, we really talked about how this period of time was like these past 2 weeks have really been the time to like get into like, I don't want to say your final positions, but like that was like the opportunity to do that. And that's really playing out. And with what you've just gone through, and maybe I'll go through some of the astrology that I see specifically for this eclipse, from the first eclipse, Libra, March 25th to April 8th, and the themes of this full moon in Libra, specifically for Bitcoin, and what I see with there, because I feel like it really aligns, especially with the full moon being in the third house, which is communication, but the mind as well. And with you talking about those positive news coming out, there is like just positivity. And we can see then with Venus being conjunct the natal Uranus of Bitcoin, specifically on the full moon. So that being a heightened theme for this next 2 weeks. And with Uranus, we know that we love to use this planet because this planet really tells us about when we could expect specific breakouts, when we can expect, I call it the earthquake because it just shakes things up, and Uranus literally rules earthquakes.
Yeah.
But it's like as if Bitcoin is ready to break out of the norm. It's ready to take a leap. It's ready to take those chances. And this transit is a surprise. It's an adventure. It's like, but it's related to money because of Venus being the planet of love and also of money. It actually, it's creating unexpected money, unexpected influx of money, and also attracting new romances. So in other words, I feel like we're about to get a lot more new Bitcoin lovers, a lot more Bitcoin investors, so more people getting attracted into the crypto space. I do feel a lot of just euphoria is the word I'm going to use. We said last week, even, we're really feeling that this is similar to the end of 2021 energy. We're not quite yet there with the peak, but we're starting to feel it. We're starting to feel it brewing, that just euphoric energy. Bitcoin's natal Venus is actually also going to be conjunct by Mars. So this is more good news, creating, yes, volatility, but it's like this creative, passionate energy. And it's really a great way it's a great energy to lead in finances. So we love that for Bitcoin. Jupiter trine the natal sun is another aspect that's really important. I mean, Jupiter, the planet of expansion, of abundance, being trine the natal sun of Bitcoin during this full moon is very much like, okay, we're ready to expand even more towards our purpose. So this is more confidence, more accomplishments. And really also for us investors, a good sign for investment opportunities as we head towards wherever Bitcoin wants to head, towards its purpose. There is the moon, the full moon, that's going to be also opposition the natal moon of Bitcoin, and that's a representation of mood swings. So we can think about that with even more extreme volatility. And that moon is also at the same time square the natal Mars. So more volatility, more energy, more excitement and euphoria and passion. But this one was a key aspect that I really wanted to touch on, because the moon square natal Mars, yes, excitement and euphoria, but also a clear sign of like, it's a bit of a warning for potential consequences in the long term. So it's telling us, enjoy the energy, enjoy the euphoria, but just be careful because in the long term, there could be potential consequences. Yeah. And really just with it all happening in Libra as well, you touched on Libra, and I just feel like that is such a beautiful energy of creation, and it's such a sense of we and everybody winning together. It doesn't feel like competition. It feels like everybody's coming together to win. And Libra is ruled by Venus, the planet that governs love, beauty, and money. And Libra adores high art and intellectualism and loves all the finer things in life, yet it just brings things to like the highest of standards, and it has this high standard side of it. So what that also what I felt into that was that Bitcoin, I feel like we've had a bit of a run with the alts, but I feel like even Bitcoin's brewing to have its run and head to,
Even
I
greater.
want to say higher highs. I just feel like that's where we're headed with this energy.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because I do feel overall, at least between I do feel like you are going to get another buying opportunity the next kind of new moon eclipse. I do think that there is going to be some time for that. I'm not saying that you should wait for that. You can be like DCAing into your positions as we've been saying for a long time. I hope people don't get bored of us saying this, but we'll never stop saying it. And yeah, basically, but we do have like punctuating that good energy. There are some other sort of aspects that are like, oh, hold on a second. So we have like the Sun square Bitcoin's natal Mars, and so like Mars is this like planet of energy, action, and desire, and it like represents drive, ambition, conflict, and like can be a little aggressive. So in financial astrology, Mars like has this competitive spirit, this assertiveness, and this decision making, but potential for conflict. And so Bitcoin's natal Mars is like the inherent drive, ambition, and potential areas of conflict within the Bitcoin market and the Bitcoin community. So we could see the Sun square Bitcoin's natal Mars is maybe a period that we see some tensions and challenges that could affect Bitcoin's market dynamics. And combative is the word that is really like important to me in with this transit. So again, it's a time increased volatility, but also conflict and competition. And so it might highlight or exacerbate conflicts within the cryptocurrency industry as a whole in, with Bitcoin, because sometimes, especially when we get really into a bull run, people tend to forget why we came here, and they criticize Bitcoin. Oh, when Bitcoin's not going to 100x and all of this kind of stuff. And it creates a lot of tension. I mean, we don't really hang out on crypto Twitter, so we don't see it so much. But yeah, it's quite interesting. And maybe even some tensions within and internal disagreements within the Bitcoin community, like that there often does come with that, like, how maxi are you, like, and those kind of things. So I definitely think we'll see that. But then again, we have the Mercury, another beautiful aspect, Mercury sextile Bitcoin's natal sun. So again, the planet of communication, this transit is really kind of like feels like a place where communication and information just flow really beautifully, and analytical understanding regarding Bitcoin could be really, really positive and really effective. And this could be a time when people really start to learn about Bitcoin, understand Bitcoin, and see Bitcoin in a different way. Like it's just communicated differently. We've spoken about this in the past, how like, someone told me about Bitcoin one time, and the way they explained it to me was about Bitcoin mining. And I was like, what are these guys talking about? But then when I read the Bitcoin standard and it was communicated to me in a different way, that was when I got it. So I think that that's kind of what this aspect is talking about. So yeah, I think that could be, it's like good news is coming that day. So it's very up and down these this next 2 weeks, but there are some positives and there are some negatives, and a lot of it feels like a lot around communication and miscommunication. And of course, Mercury retrograde, that's what's we expect that. But I think that that's kind of what causes the volatility. I think you'll see it in the news as well. Like one day in the mainstream media, one day it's like, wow, look at Bitcoin go, Bitcoin tops, all-time highs. And then the next day, Bitcoin plummeted 30% or whatever it is. you know, and so it's very like up and down, and you're going to have to navigate your own way through that and sort of learn how to manage your emotions through that too. Yeah, absolutely.
It is. Like we said at the start of this episode, buckle up, ladies and gentlemen, because it's about to get bumpy. But it's you know, that's what it is. Everybody keeps saying to me lately the saying, it is what it is. Everybody's like, I don't like this saying, but it is what it is. It's been like a theme that I hear so many people say, and I'm like, yeah, it kind of is. But yeah.
The only other ones I want to touch on as well is like, we've got the sun semi-square Bitcoin's natal Neptune, and the Mercury. We've got Mercury semi-square Bitcoin's natal Jupiter. And so this then is around sort of like over optimism. So it's the other side of it, like it's miscommunication in that way. And we do often see this, like coming into the Bitcoin halving, coming into the bull run. It's like, oh, Bitcoin is going to be $10 million this cycle, and you're going to have all of these crazy like price predictions and all of these kind of things, and different kind of news announcements like China has been buying Bitcoin, all these kind of things that are absolute garbage, that, like, you know, they're big over optimism and miscommunication. So just be on the lookout for some of that as well, because that's definitely there, being overly idealistic and having unrealistic expectations. Yeah, Mercury's semi-square Bitcoin's natal Mercury, like again, same thing, information overload, increased volatility due to miscommunication, misunderstanding, misinterpretation. And yeah, and then we do have some other sort of positive things as well. Like we've got Mercury conjunct Bitcoin's natal Uranus. Did you already touch on this? Did you already say this one? I'm not sure.
Hold on, I've gone through so many. Which one did you say again? Bitcoin.
Mercury conjunct Bitcoin's natal Uranus. So it's
I
like,
went over Venus natal Uranus. So yeah, really go through that one too.
so
There's
yeah,
so much.
again, it's just like innovative ideas, breakthroughs, and again, causing volatility in market prices, but it can be volatile to the upside as well as the downside. So yeah, I think that that's really the flavor of the next 2 weeks. So buckle up, enjoy the ride, prepare yourself for the volatility, prepare yourself to stack some sats when, you know, we do get these crazy wicks to the downside, which can very, very easily happen. And just sort of keep a clear, balanced head, like whether it's information that sounds too good to be true or information that scares the shit out of you, keep it in perspective. I think that that's sort of the message. And I think, as I touched on in the last episode, you know, the eclipses do bring to light the things that need to be brought into the light, need to be brought into the awareness of the collective consciousness. Like that's really what happens during eclipse season. So, you know, expect the unexpected, because there are going to be things that come up. And as I said last episode, I do believe that that is going to be more in the realms of traditional finance, in banking, in nation states, you know, all of those kind of things, more so than in Bitcoin and crypto. But you never know.
Yeah, I lost you there for a second just because of, you know, pre-shadow Mercury retrograde already playing with our internet. But I did want to chime in with the extreme, like I really, really want to emphasize, I feel like a lot of this euphoria, like emotions are really going to be continuing to come up. And of course, during Mercury retrograde, when we're all like emotionally and spiritually and mentally feeling like, do I go? Do I do this? Do I fall for the euphoria? Am I not euphoric enough? And like, and also with stacking sats, you know, if Michael Saylor has been doing more and more of that, I think we should too. And I'm sorry, but I have to share this. This is like my favorite meme of all time because it's crypto, or Mean Girls goes crypto, and it's my favorite. And this is what we're talking about with the crazy predictions. Crazy predictions. Obviously, 100 trillion is excessive, but this made me so happy.
I love it. I love it. I saw this on your Instagram and it literally made my day. It made me laugh so much. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. There are those moments where it's like, am I not bullish enough? Am I too bullish? Am I not bullish enough? And it's like, just keep that like level playing field, stack those sats, and you know, move forward. I do want to just touch on one thing that I just found pretty.
Before you share that, just quickly, I think that what you're saying is also really important, just on people feeling like, should I be bullish? Did I buy enough Bitcoin? And I know we're going to dive more into that in lots of episodes to come, because I think we're going to go through a lot of emotions. But I just want to remind everybody that you are exactly where you need to be. And during this time where you feel like maybe I haven't bought enough Bitcoin, I need more Bitcoin, I should have bought more. Especially during this time, because of this energies that we're going through, just remember that you're exactly where it is that you need to be. If you don't feel like you have a trading plan yet or an investment plan yet, I think that that's really step one, and really focus it on where you are and when you're at, where your goals are, because everybody's different and the comparison game is just so toxic. And I thought I really needed to share that because I've been getting so many messages about this. So yeah, we're gonna be okay, everybody. We got this.
Yeah, and also like keep in perspective. Like I'm always very wary about, you know, when people are posting all of these things about like, you know, 10,000, you know, percent up on a trade, and you're sitting there going like, how is this not happening for me? A lot of this is bullshit. So, you know, don't buy into it. Like run your own race. You're going to be fine. But as Corinne said, like definitely now is the time, if you haven't already, to really have a sort of a plan moving forward of how you're going to tackle this bull run, because it's coming whether you like it or not, whether you're ready or not. So yeah, some of the things in the wider world that I just found very sort of odd this week, or was brought to my attention this week, was this BIS and the tokenization for the real world. So I think in our episode that we did with the wonderful Andrew Meadow, we did talk about how we think the narrative, one of the narratives this year in crypto is going to be real world asset tokenization. And, you know, the BIS are even jumping on board. And so from the economic advisor and the head of research of the BIS spoke at a OCC symposium on the tokenization of real world assets and liabilities. So if you read through this article, which I can link the PDF and the presentation and everything, they basically talk about, they talk like crypto bros. It was really crazy, but wait. So basically throughout history, they said that innovations in the monetary system have coincided with major leaps in economic activity. So money in the form of book entries overseen by trusted intermediaries opened the door to new financial instruments that spurred trade and commerce. Then paper ledgers gave way to their digital counterparts, bringing profound changes to the economy and the society at large. Tokenization could take this evolution one step further. See, sounds like a crypto bro. And tokens integrate the information in the traditional database with rules and logic governing transfers. So it enables the contingent performance of actions, enlarging the universe of possible economic arrangements. So really big upping the tokenization of assets. But they are not thinking about it in terms of like open source and, you know, an open ledger like we have with Bitcoin. But they basically think that they are going to have central bank money in the same venue as other claims. And so this will enable the settlement of transactions. And also for private forms of money, tokenized deposits are preferred over stable coins due to the former's compatibility with the singleness of money. And so basically they argued for a unified ledger that, of course, they control, that brings together wholesale central bank digital currencies, tokenized deposits, and tokenized assets all in the same platform. So this is where they are heading. So initially, it sounds like it makes sense. It sounds like it's a move forward, but this makes me really, really uncomfortable, especially when it coincides with these new rulings that the Europe have put in place. They're the first people to really outline major crypto legislation with a huge focus on stable coins, and also regulations and approvals for companies that want to establish themselves in the cryptocurrency space. And, you know, basically it's a complete ban on algorithmic stable coins from operating in the EU. And any stable coin that's asset backed has to meet some very stringent approvals. So it looks like they are wanting to completely get rid of USDT in Europe by the end of 2024, unless they can abide by these new rulings. And so USDT is obviously the largest stable coin in the ecosystem, and Europe is obviously a really major, important player in crypto. So it'll be very interesting to see how this plays out. Obviously, we're conspiracy theorists over here, and we expect them to roll out their own CBDC that's not really a conspiracy theory, because they've been talking about it openly for a really long time. And so, of course, they are going to get rid of the competition to their CBDC. So really interesting to see how this plays out. I do think it will be a migration of talent out of Europe, which will be really sad. And people will go to more crypto-friendly or free places, I think, to establish their businesses. Dubai is happy to have all of these people, as many of them want to come. So it's really interesting to see these sort of like economic shifts happening. So a little bit creepy, but you know, also I think that there's going to be sort of more of these sorts of things that unfold and roll out, over the next couple of months for sure.
I think so too. And thank you for sharing that. It's so interesting to see these shifts. And I feel like we've spoken about here as well. And as I have many people in crypto for the longest time, that we're just wondering about how long will they allow stable coins to be around. Side note, I think that they don't maybe understand that the actual threat is Bitcoin, not so much stable coins, because at the end of the day, regardless of what they do with stable coins, I mean, when you really understand crypto, I mean, we're here to stack sats at the moment until when and if ever we have something else that is going to be the new, let's say. But it's also, I just went to have a look, the USDT market cap. So it's the third largest market cap in crypto, of course, coming after Bitcoin and Ethereum. And it's $103 billion. Actually, it's about to hit $104 billion USDT. So that's going to be major.
Yeah.
Major shifts.
A big deal for the markets for sure. So, yeah, I mean, again, I think we've spoken about it so much. Like it's gonna get. I don't feel like we can even actually imagine what these changes like look like in our world, whether it be Bitcoin being more adopted and used more. I think when Bitcoin's price starts to level out, more people will start to use their Bitcoin. But I think I don't think we can even imagine like what the world could look like in 10 years' time. So I think that's really interesting, but it's also like really exciting at the same time. Like these times of great change are also times of great opportunity. And it's so cool. I mean, imagine if we were born in like the 50s where you had to go and get a job that you hated for like 60 years. Like I would die in that environment. Like we get to, trade gold and crypto and communicate via Zoom and, post on YouTube. And like, it's just a different world. Like even from like 10, 15 years ago, the world has changed so much. And I think there's so much focus on the negative, and there is a ton of negative. Like, we're not naive about that. But there's also like a lot of positive things, and the best is yet to come, honestly.
Agreed. I think we're heading in the right direction. I just feel like we're evolving. I feel we're evolving, and with the growing and transformation comes a little bit of pain, the growing pains. But our emotions either good or bad, or are they just as is? I believe that emotions are not good or bad, they just are. And we're just going through those shifts, those changes. But we're evolving towards the good. That's what I choose to believe. And we all play a role in that. So I'm excited for what's to come. And yeah. Oh, lots happening.
Yeah, we have a lot to talk about also for our next episode with the solar eclipse, but you guys are going to have to tune in to our next episode to find all of that juicy info. But I think this is a perfect place to close it. Have a beautiful full moon, South Node lunar eclipse, and peace, love, and Bitcoin.
Full moon, peace, love, and Bitcoin.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Bitcoin Zodiac podcast. We hope you enjoyed our discussions about the evolution of Bitcoin viewed through the lens of financial astrology. This podcast does not offer financial advice, so please make sure you do your own research. And stay tuned for our next episode, where we will continue to dive deeper and build off these perception-expanding topics. Remember, whatever your beliefs may be, we all have something to learn from each other. So stay curious, stay open-minded, and keep exploring the world of Bitcoin and astrology. As always, may the stars align in your favor and your crypto investments prosper. Until next time, peace, love, and Bitcoin.